Today is Monday, April 3rd. What to know about storms that left a trail of destruction in several states, and a similar storm system that's right around the corner. And what to expect from former President Trump's first appearance in a criminal court. Also, we'll explain the latest court ruling over a Tennessee law that's impacting drag shows and sparking a national debate. Plus, which country is now the first to ban Chat GPT completely? Why one team's March Madness victory was so historic. And did you get fooled dispelling some nationwide pranks from April Fool's Day over the weekend? Those stories and much more next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, there is another extreme weather threat looming for the middle of the country this week, just as communities across the South and Midwest begin to pick up from the last devastating storms. A severe weather outbreak brought more than 50 tornado reports in at least 7 states on Friday. At least 32 people died and more were hurt. Homes, businesses, and at least one school were crushed, and a roof collapsed over a packed concert venue in Illinois. Most of the damage is in Arkansas, Indiana, and Tennessee, where there's a lot of rebuilding left to do. President Biden approved a federal disaster declaration yesterday to help. You'll remember this comes a week after another tornado outbreak killed at least 26 people and destroyed much of a town in Mississippi. And it comes ahead of another serious threat that forecasters say looks similar. The National Weather Service says severe thunderstorms are likely for tomorrow. They could bring a few strong tornadoes, large hail, and powerful winds to parts of the Midwest and South, from Iowa and Illinois down to Texas. Some of the biggest risks are in places like Chicago, Kansas City, and Little Rock, Arkansas. So meteorologists are asking the millions of people in the path of this next one to keep a close eye on the forecast and be prepared. Former President Trump, New York officials, and pretty much all the politicians in Washington, D.C. are gearing up for a historic week. Trump will officially surrender to authorities in New York and make his first court appearance tomorrow, a first for any American president. The exact charges are still sealed, but we know they're linked to a hush money payment Trump is accused of making to an adult film actress. Prosecutors will likely charge him for falsifying business records to hide that payment, though Trump has said none of it is true. So far, law enforcement officials have not warned of any major threats, but New York City police still have all hands on deck in case anything goes awry with either protests or celebrations. Trump's legal team is also preparing. But it's apparently not easy. One of the former president's lawyers told CNN he doesn't really know what to expect since this whole thing is unprecedented. But he says the plan is to be in and out of the courtroom as soon as possible. He went on to call the charges against his client a political persecution and abuse of power that he's ready to fight. So the Trump legal team is expecting to take this to trial. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign says the former president has seen a bump in the polls since the indictment was first announced, and a lot of fundraising. The campaign apparently raised $4 million in the first 24 hours after the news broke, and another $1 million the next day. Even more people will hear from the candidate himself after he surrenders. Former President Trump announced he will return to Florida tomorrow night to give a primetime address from his home. So stay tuned. Former President Trump is getting some more competition in the 2024 presidential race. Over the weekend, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson announced he's going to be running too. Hutchinson told ABC News he thinks Americans want leaders who appeal to the country's best and not our worst instincts. And he said, quote, "I believe I can be that kind of leader for the people of America." He also said former President Trump should drop out of the race since he called the whole criminal case against him a sideshow and a distraction. But Trump has already said he's staying in no matter what. With that, it's probably going to be a crowded Republican primary. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy have also officially launched campaigns, and several others have said they're considering doing the same soon. A federal judge blocked a controversial law out of Tennessee just hours before it was set to go into effect. The governor signed it back in February, and it's been stirring up debates around the country ever since. It would have restricted drag performances in public or in front of children. The word drag doesn't actually appear in the law, but those shows would be most impacted, since specifically the law says, quote, "male or female impersonators are now classified as a form of adult cabaret, akin to strippers." Supporters, like the governor, say it would protect kids from being exposed to sexualized entertainment. But many performers and civil rights groups have argued existing obscenity laws are enough, and that adding this law would lead to more harassment and violence against gay and transgender people. An LGBTQ theater group ended up suing over it. A federal judge has now sided with that group. He issued a temporary restraining order on the law, citing freedom of speech protections. Now the DA and the state say they'll go back and clarify the law. So expect this case to end up back in court. It's a surprise that could put even more pressure on inflation. Several of the world's largest oil producers, like Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Iraq, announced yesterday they are significantly cutting back on oil production. And that's even though the U.S. has been calling on them to boost output in the hopes of pushing energy prices lower and preventing Russia from getting more money to put toward its Ukraine invasion. Well, this morning, oil prices have already surged. Some independent analysts say that's exactly what the oil producers wanted. They apparently think the demand for oil could go down as the global economy weakens, so they don't want to lose too much money. But some people think the opposite will happen, that demand for oil will keep going up as the world keeps rebounding from the pandemic. Either way, these cuts are likely temporary. The world's top oil producers, who are together known as OPEC+, are meeting today, so we'll likely hear more soon. All right, we have more news for you still coming up. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. If you're a business owner who does not want to waste time, you'll love Indeed for hiring. With Indeed Instant Match, you can instantly receive a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Yep, all the tools you need on the same platform to help you keep things efficient and easy and still effective. And by the way, according to U.S. Indeed data, candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than candidates who only see it in search. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you cannot afford to overspend on hiring. Visit Indeed.com/newsworthy to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/newsworthy. Indeed.com/newsworthy. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Italy has become the first Western country to ban the artificial intelligence tool Chat GPT. Italian regulators say there are privacy concerns with the AI chatbot. So it will be blocked, at least for now, while regulators investigate. Their concerns started a couple of weeks ago when Chat GPT experienced a data breach. It exposed some users' personal data like chat history and payment information. The company behind Chat GPT is called OpenAI, and it says the bug that caused the leak has since been patched. But Italian regulators say that's not their only issue. They still want to know exactly how OpenAI collects data, and they have raised concerns that there's no system to prevent kids from being exposed to inappropriate content. OpenAI now just has a little more than 2 weeks to respond with information and possible remedies, or it could face a fine of nearly $22 million or 4% of its revenue, whichever is greater. For now, OpenAI has responded to say it's committed to protecting people's privacy already, and it also thinks AI regulation is necessary, so to be continued. Many companies, celebrities, sports teams, and even tourist attractions around the world stuck to tradition this year and rolled out April Fool's Day pranks. So just to clear a few things up, here are some of the things that were promised this weekend but won't actually be happening. Tinder will not ban photos of single people holding fish. Fiat will not sell cars with a pasta maker installed in the console. There's no Panera Bread bread bowl hot tub. Chris Pratt is not going to be voicing Mickey Mouse for an upcoming Disney movie. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not signed Snoop Dogg to play wide receiver. And the Eiffel Tower is not going to install the world's tallest slide. Of course, there were a lot more going around, but hopefully you didn't get fooled too badly this April Fool's. It was Andre Agassi and Andy Roddick versus John McEnroe and Michael Chang. It was the first pro pickleball game for any of them, and they put on a pretty big show. The audience could hear all of their reactions and arguments. McEnroe even threw his paddle on the court and raised his arms up a few times for some classic McEnroe meltdowns, which he was famous for back in his tennis playing days. Another tennis legend, Steffi Graf, also subbed in at one point, and ESPN announcers gave the play-by-play. In the end, Agassi and Roddick came out on top. And with that, they won a $1 million charitable donation and brought pickleball to the mainstream with a sports debut event on ESPN. That's a wrap on the women's NCAA basketball tournament. LSU beat Iowa to win the national title game. That's the first championship win for LSU on either the women's or men's side. But Iowa made history too, or at least Iowa's star player, Caitlin Clark, did. She broke the record for the most points scored in a single NCAA women's tournament. And even though her team lost, she's been named National Player of the Year. Overall tournament viewership was up 42% from last season. Now it's the men's turn. The NCAA men's basketball championship game is set for tonight. It'll be UConn squaring off against San Diego State. UConn is looking for its 5th national championship since 1999. San Diego State is playing for its first championship ever. Tonight's title game starts at 9:20 Eastern on CBS. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. And today we are talking about what food some families are using instead of eggs this Easter in the face of inflation. But first, a quick note that you can get ad-free episodes when you become a Newsworthy Insider. Plus, you'll be supporting the work we do here every day, and you'll get the bonus Ask Me Anything episode I'll be putting out later this month. So sign up now for your free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. Okay, now back to Money Monday. Egg prices have gotten so high that some people are now replacing Easter eggs with Easter potatoes. Yes, people are dyeing potatoes different colors, hunting for potatoes, and doing potato tosses. The whole idea actually started a few months ago. Memes about high egg prices went viral on the internet, and some said things like, yeah, I think it's safe to go ahead and cancel this year's Easter egg hunt, or children will have to hunt potatoes this Easter. Well, the National Marketing and Promotion Board for Potatoes decided to join in on that trend. Potatoes USA started giving tips on decorating spuds with edible dye or paint. And it asked people who do it to use the hashtag Easter potatoes on social media. That idea seems to have caught on. By searching that hashtag on TikTok or Facebook, you can see some people have gotten pretty creative with it. Now, we should say egg prices have fallen from their record high back in January, so there will still probably be plenty of Easter baskets filled with eggs as usual this year. All right, thank you so much for joining us and listening today. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.